HNAP. It's Friday and I'm off fishing and you guys are here. So sorry about that. Two things that you need to do today. First of all, um, third hour, you guys will see that there are some questions now in the biodiversity lab. So even if you turned it in, you have to go back and answer those questions. So that's should take you about 20 minutes or so to do that. And then the second part is we need to rewrite our FRQs from Unit 2. So I'm going to go real quickly through some suggestions on that. But what you'll do is you'll just open up your notebook, you'll open up your test, and you're going to rewrite your answers to the FRQs, especially the ones you got wrong. And then you'll take a picture, and I'll have a spot in the Google Classroom for you to turn that in. Okay, so here's the deal. In an FRQ, these are the biggest problems. A lot of you guys are still using general language. And so if you can see here, be specific should be always, always, always on your mind. So be specific. How do you reduce urban runoff? A correct answer would be using permeable pavers, some sort of diverters for the water, but increased infiltration does not help because it doesn't tell how, right? And then always when you respond, you want to make sure that you respond correctly. That first one that you respond to, and then I've got some other suggestions as we go through the actual questions. So, question one, they asked you guys how what was an item that could be removed in primary treatment and identify how that's done. So there are two questions here. So number one, you always had to respond with two things, right? And so the pollutant had to be anything big because the primary treatment was that first thing. So rags, sticks, a lot of different things that you guys could put on there, and then sand and grit. That was the pollutant. So make sure you say the pollutant removed in primary treatment is, and then you can say how it was done. And most of the time that was either through some sort of bar screen or some sort of settling tank. But always you'll see this for question D as well. If they ask you for two things, make sure that you put two sentences so that way you can tell the grader, I'm answering both. Okay. So the second one was a secondary treatment question. So name a pollutant that you remove in secondary treatment and what is the mechanism. So those two had to match. And so whatever you decided to choose, you can see from these are the suggestions for the graders that's up on the screen here. You had to then have something that matched it. So if you were talking about dissolved organic material, then you had to talk about introducing bacteria to get rid of that. If you talked about getting rid of the bacteria, then you had to talk about disinfection. If you talked about phosphates, then you had to look at lime or these different ideas of how to attach something to that phosphate and then precipitate it out. All right, and then the third one, C, how wastewater treatments create disposal problems. So you just wanted to make sure that I think a lot of people did really well on this one. Just that whatever precipitates out or comes out that isn't eaten up by the bacteria then creates some sort of landfill issue or had to be put somewhere. All right, D. This one was one where they said they're going to add a secondary treatment and that's going to create landfill problems or other problems. So you had to choose whether or not you're going to take that material and put it in a landfill or number two, spread it on agricultural. And so this is a suggestion on what was gradable or what was a good answer for that problem. And you can see that I've got some other suggestions. So there are two questions, so always answer both questions. Separate your responses to avoid graders thinking that you're thinking that. So some people said they both create runoff problems. It's better to say a landfill possibly could create runoff problems and spreading it on agricultural could create landfill problems. Okay, and then avoid non-specific responses. So there's things that people said it would create more pollution. Always avoid the word things. So some people wrote it's bad things would happen, or and that's just not going to get a point. Gross stuff or some people said when you spread it on agricultural lands, it harms the growth of the plant, but it didn't say how it might do that. And so those were going to be graded as a 0. And then I know a lot of you probably said, well, I don't remember what the bad things were, the problems, but I remember the advantages. And so you tried your best to put the advantages instead of the problems. But if they ask for problems, you have to give them problems, and that's what they're going to be looking for. They're not going to be looking for what are the advantages of doing 1 or 2. All right, in E, this was how do we disinfect? And you had to name what's going to get disinfected and how we're going to do it. So disinfection, that word disinfection means that there was something alive. And so I'll move my thing right here. You had to say something about bacteria or pathogens or cholera or viruses. You could not say phosphate or nitrates because that was not, disinfection does not get rid of those things. Disinfection is just like your mom might, use a Clorox wipe to disinfect. That means to kill the things that are alive, like these things that are listed right here on the right. And then a lot of you guys got the rest of these right. So chlorine, ozone, ultraviolet light, these were things that we talked about, and a lot of you guys got that right. So, and they did not need to be connected. And so if you see, you might have named phosphate, but then you named the right kind of disinfection, that was okay. All right, and then the last one, question 1E asked, where are we going? Oh, this is the federal law. And the federal law was quite simple. They wanted one of these acts, and I'll just tell you that when you do that, don't elaborate. So don't say the Clean Water Act and then tell us what the Water Act was, because if you're wrong, they're not going to take it off, right? And then if you put the date, so if you put the wrong date, that could get you wrong. So just name the act. Don't put the year. If it's wrong, they could mark it wrong. And I think some people may have done that, and I didn't count it off, but I kind of warned you that that was going to happen. All right, so that's today. So 2 things that you need to do is first finish off the biodiversity lab. Make sure that you answer those questions and then turn that biodiversity lab in. And then whatever questions you got wrong, rewrite them and put them into the Google Classroom, a picture, just like you would your notes. Put a picture that you did the rewrites on your Unit 2 exams. All right, I will see you guys on Monday. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.